Monday Night Football is about to bring us one of those rare matchups that feel like more than so mês of jogo na temporada. It's the Buffalo Bills visiting the Atlanta Falcons, and while these teams don't share a division, they definitely share something ainda mês importante, ponto critico na temporada. For Buffalo, it's all about responding after an unexpected stumble. For Atlanta, it's about proving they actually belong in the big boy conversation. Coming off a frustrating loss to the Patriots, a divisional rival that Buffalo was largely expected to handle, the Bills find themselves needing a statement win. Not necessarily because they're in trouble, but because they simply don't lose those kinds of games often. Since the Josh Allen era really kicked into high gear back in 2020, Buffalo hasn't dropped back-to-back games very often. They've bounced back well, 17 wins and just 5 losses following a defeat, with an average victory margin of over 10 points. That tells you everything you need to know about this team's ability to course correct. So yeah, the Falcons are not catching the Bills at a great time. Buffalo's pissed off, heading into their bye, and looking to clean up some serious issues that popped up last week. Turnovers, penalties, execution. These aren't things we're used to associating with this version of the Bills. But against New England, 3 turnovers, 2 in a single quarter. 11 penalties, 90 penalty yards. That's not just sloppy, that's un-Bills-like. And it's exactly why this team is going to be out to make a statement in Atlanta. They're not just trying to win, they're trying to wipe the taste of that Patriots game completely out of their mouths. And with a bye week coming up right after, there's no doubt this locker room wants to reset the narrative before taking a breather. But this is where it gets spicy. Because on the other side of the field, you've got a Falcons team that's actually in a very similar emotional spot. They're coming out of their bye, not limping, but with a whole lot to prove. Atlanta has flashed at times this season. A gritty win over Washington, a defensive lockdown against Minnesota, but now the real tests begin. It starts with Buffalo, continues with San Francisco, and then brings in a Colts team that's quietly climbing. This is where we find out what Atlanta actually is. Because let's be real, beating Bryce Young and the Panthers or Marcus Mariota's Commanders isn't exactly the kind of resume that turns heads. But if you knock off a top-tier AFC powerhouse like the Bills on prime time, that's how you put the rest of the league on notice. That's how you tell the world this isn't just a rebuild. It's a team arriving earlier than expected. And for the Falcons, the key is going to be making this offense finally live up to its potential. Everyone in Atlanta has been waiting for that explosion. We've seen the sparks. Bijan Robinson looking like a human cheat code. Drake London coming into his own. Kyle Pitts still waiting for that breakout moment. And now, there's Michael Penix Jr., a young quarterback with all the arm talent in the world and just enough swagger to make Falcons fans believe he could be the guy moving forward. But now it's time to prove it. Because against this Bills defense, one that has struggled at times to stop the run and will be without key pieces like Matt Milano, the opportunity is there. The problem? Buffalo doesn't usually give you 2 bad weeks in a row. If they got beat up last Sunday, expect them to come out swinging this Monday. That defense is going to come into Mercedes-Benz Stadium with something to prove, especially against a back like Bijan, who might just be the biggest individual mismatch in this entire game. The guy's a problem, and not just on the ground. He's averaging nearly 70 receiving yards per game and is doing things in the passing game that you just don't see from running backs. It's like he's part Alvin Kamara, part Christian McCaffrey, part something we haven't even seen yet. And with Buffalo's second-level defenders missing tackles more often than usual this year, you better believe the Falcons are going to try to get him in space early and often. The question becomes, how does Buffalo respond to that? Do they load the box? Do they crowd the line of scrimmage and force Penix to try to beat them over the top? Because so far, the Falcons haven't proven they can consistently do that. Penix's deep ball numbers, on passes over 10 yards, have been near the bottom of the league. That's not speculation. That's data. He's completing under 40% of those throws, with 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Those are not the numbers of a vertical passing attack you fear. So if you're Buffalo, that's the bet. Stop Bijan. Make Penix beat you. Play aggressive. Get physical. Live with the occasional shot play, and see if Atlanta can hit them consistently enough to make you pay. It's a gamble, but one the Bills might be willing to take. But on the flip side, don't forget that Atlanta knows this too. They know the book is out on their offense. They know the passing game has to show up. And this might be the week we finally see that happen, especially if Darnell Mooney is healthy enough to go. Mooney's speed is a difference maker. And when you look at the Bills' corners, they've been vulnerable to the faster, shiftier guys who can create separation on the outside. With Tre'Davious White, not the same player he once was, and Christian Benford not quite living up to expectations this year, this could be the week Mooney gets loose for a couple of those signature deep shots. If Buffalo is going to bring bodies to the line, that one-on-one coverage could be just the opening Atlanta has been waiting for. Structurally, though, that's not how Buffalo usually plays. They love split safeties. They love forcing offenses to dink and dunk their way down the field. They're designed to prevent the explosive plays. They've done it well for years. So unless they decide to break tendency and get aggressive, Penix might not see many clean, deep opportunities. That said, he doesn't need a ton. If you give Mooney a couple shots downfield, all it takes is one to change the tone of the game. But let's not act like Atlanta is the only team with an explosive running back and weapons at wide receiver. James Cook has been quietly having an excellent year in Buffalo. He's not just a space player. He's been effective in traffic, efficient with his touches, and dangerous when the ball gets to the edge. And when he gets outside, that's where the tackling issues in Atlanta's secondary could really be exposed. A.J. Terrell is a stud in coverage, but his missed tackle rate is concerning. Same goes for Mike Hughes and rookie safety Billy Bowman. The Falcons have playmakers, but they've got to wrap up. And that's part of what makes Buffalo's offense so dangerous. It's not just one guy. Since Stephon Diggs left, Josh Allen has spread the ball around like a point guard. It's everybody eats in this offense. You can't just key in on one target. One week it's Dalton Kincaid. The next it's Keon Coleman. Then it's Khalil Shakir or even a fullback slipping out for a first down. Josh Allen doesn't care. He's going to find the open man, and he's going to do it from all angles, arm angles, body angles, and sometimes complete chaos. That puts a ton of pressure on Atlanta's defense, a unit that has shown a lot of improvement this season, but has yet to face a quarterback anywhere near Allen's caliber. This is the real test. This is the moment where we find out if Atlanta's numbers are for real or if they're just inflated from facing guys like Bryce Young, J.J. McCarthy, and Marcus Mariota. And that's what makes this game so fascinating. It's not just a test for Atlanta. It's a test for Buffalo, too. Are they still the team that dominates after losses? Or is there more wrong under the hood than we think? Are the Falcons a sneaky playoff team in the NFC, or just another group of talented young guys that isn't quite ready yet? If there's one thing the Falcons absolutely have to fix going into this matchup, it's red zone efficiency. They've moved the ball fairly well through the first stretch of the season, but once they cross the 20, everything seems to tighten up, not just in terms of space, but in terms of execution. Settling for field goals against average teams is one thing. But trying to match Buffalo touchdown for touchdown while kicking threes? That's a recipe for a long night. Buffalo doesn't mess around in the red zone. They're sitting middle of the pack statistically, but the personnel they bring to those situations, especially with Josh Allen's mobility, always keeps defenses off balance. You've got to respect the run, the bootleg, the tight end slip, and of course, Allen's willingness to tuck it and take punishment at the goal line. There's a reason this guy is still one of the top red zone quarterbacks in football. And the Falcons, who've been one of the worst red zone defenses in the league so far, are going to have to play above their current level if they want to keep this game from getting away early. Defensively, Atlanta has been better than expected. No question about that. But again, context matters. When your biggest test so far has been Baker Mayfield, you haven't truly seen what an elite offense looks like. That changes Monday night. Buffalo is not just explosive, they're efficient. They don't waste many downs, and they're capable of adjusting mid-game in ways that can break even the most disciplined defensive setups. This isn't the Commanders or the Panthers or a rookie quarterback still figuring out. This is Josh Allen with a full command of a system designed to let him dominate both inside and outside the pocket. That's why Atlanta's pass rush might be the real X factor here. If they can generate pressure without selling out with heavy blitzes, they give themselves a chance to hang in the game. The good news? They've been solid up front. Young pass rushers like James Pierce have shown flashes, And while this isn't a star-studded defensive line, it's been a unit that fights. But the challenge now is closing those plays. Allen doesn't go down easily. He shrugs off arm tackles, extends plays, and turns broken down pockets into chunk gains. So if Atlanta gets to him, they better bring him down. Because once Allen starts improvising, that's when things get dangerous. That's when you see tight ends leak out, slot receivers drift into open zones, and defensive backs get caught looking. And let's talk about Allen's ability to spread the ball. One week it's Kincaid working the seams. The next it's Key and Coleman going off outside. You can't key in on any one guy. The Bills have done a masterful job of building a system that doesn't need a true number one wide receiver anymore. It's about matchups and rhythm, and Allen's become a master of identifying the weak link in a secondary and hammering it until you adjust. The Falcons are going to have to be ready for that, especially with a secondary that still has some question marks behind A.J. Terrell. Because if Buffalo finds the soft spot, they're going to keep coming back to it, over and over. Now, on the other side, one of the things the Falcons could lean into is trying to control the clock. It's not the flashiest strategy, but it's a practical one. Long, sustained drives, heavy doses of Bijan, short passes to move the chains. Keep Allen off the field. And more importantly, keep the game from turning into a track meet. Because if this becomes a shootout, Buffalo has the edge, even with Atlanta's emerging offensive weapons. The Bills simply have more firepower and more experience delivering under pressure. And yes, that starts with Bijan. The guy is the heart of this offense, and Buffalo knows it. The question is how they plan to contain him. There's a strong chance the Bills will commit extra bodies to the box, play more aggressively up front, and dare Penix Jr. to beat them deep. And honestly, that might be the smart move. Penix has the arm, no question. He can throw it 70 yards on a rope. But so far, the vertical passing game hasn't been there. The timing, the precision, the chemistry with his receivers, it's still developing. So if you're the Bills, you stack the box, you clog up Bijan's running lanes, and you make the kid prove he can hit those shots downfield. And if you're Atlanta, you have to be ready for that chess move. You have to come into this game with a few deep shots dialed up. Not hopeful throws. Not maybe it works designs. Real, calculated strike plays. Set up the defense with play action, isolate a defender in space, and go take your shot. If Mooney is active and healthy, he's the guy to test that secondary. His speed can stretch the field, and with Buffalo playing tighter to the line, he might only need one or two looks to completely flip the field position game. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. Whispers are swirling through the NFL corridors, and if the rumors hold any weight, the Buffalo Bills are quietly orchestrating a move that could send shockwaves across the league. Sources close to the organization suggest that the Bills have secured the services of cornerback Asante Samuel Jr., a rising star whose reputation for lockdown coverage has been growing steadily since his entry into the league. While the team has not officially confirmed the signing, insiders hint that the deal is done and that Samuel Jr. will don the Bills' colors very soon, potentially reshaping the defensive landscape in Buffalo. Samuel Jr. is widely regarded as one of the most promising defensive backs in the NFL. His speed, anticipation, and instinctual ability to read plays have made him a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks and wide receivers alike. Teams have struggled to find openings against him, and whispers around the league suggest that his addition to the Bills roster could finally give Buffalo the shutdown secondary that has eluded them in critical moments. For fans who have been yearning for a defensive anchor capable of changing the trajectory of games, this potential acquisition feels like a dream coming true. The buzz doesn't stop at the field. NFL analysts are already speculating how Samuel Jr. might pair with Buffalo's existing defensive schemes. Will he immediately step into a starting role, or will the coaching staff ease him into the system? Could this signing be a signal that the Bills are ready to go all in for a Super Bowl run? The possibilities are tantalizing, and the rumor mill is running at full throttle. Social media is ablaze, with fans dissecting every hint, every cryptic post from the team, and every report from insiders. Even though nothing is set in stone, The mere prospect of Samuel Jr. joining Buffalo has ignited conversations in locker rooms and living rooms alike. For a franchise that has often been on the cusp, but never quite clinched the ultimate prize, this move could signify the start of a new era. Whether the deal is finalized or just a strategic whisper, one thing is clear. Buffalo is making waves, and the NFL world is watching. The question now is not if, but when ASANTE Samuel Jr. will step onto the field and potentially transform the Bills' defense into one of the league's most feared units. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.